In this video, you'll see how I went about making adjustable height volleyball standards using some steel tubing, some cement, and some tires. I think they turned out real well. I may have overcomplicated it some, but hopefully you'll get some good ideas for your next project if you are going to attack something similar. The first thing I'm doing here is I'm making a little template that I can follow with my plasma cutter for cutting out the brackets from the metal itself. Once I got those all cut out, I smoothed them out on the grinder where I didn't have my plasma cutter settings set up all that great, and then I mated two of them together and ground them to size to a matching set, and then they were labeled as such. And then next I'm going to mark where I'm going to put a piece of rod stock that will act as an upper pulley and a lower pulley on the bracket for tightening the net. This is cutting the rod stock to length that will go in those holes that I just drilled on the brackets using a cold cut saw for metal, and works great on this kind of thing. And then I'll get those ready to weld into place, set them up, clamp them. Tack them in place and grind it flush, and repeat the process on the other brackets. Then to set my brackets the right distance apart, I've measured the net, and then I'm using a 2x4 cut to the length I want to separate the brackets between the two pieces of rod stock on the top and bottom. That will also align the brackets left and right with each other from top to bottom, and then I tack those in place before welding them. Once those are welded in place, I'm going to position my set screw, and so I'm going to drill a hole there and weld on a nut that I can use for adjusting the net, and then locking it in place at the height that I want. I also got a couple of cheap handles from the hardware store rather than make my own, and just tacked those on the tube as well for something to hold on to when you raise and lower the net. Then I cut a piece of chain link in half, and I'm going to weld that onto the opposite side of the tube from the bracket, so I have a place I can tie a rope and stake it to the ground to provide an additional anchor to keep the net taut. That's pretty well it for what they look like. Now I'm prepping the tubes for a couple of reinforcements for where the bottom end of the tube is going to go into the cement. You could drill a hole and stick bolts through or do whatever, but I just tacked a couple of pieces of rod stock onto these in two different directions. Then I went ahead and painted the bottoms before I stuck it in the cement, just so when I painted the rest of it, I wasn't as likely to have overspray and paint onto the cement where the poles go into the tires. Centered up the poles in the tire. Then plumbed it up vertically. Mixed up my concrete. Actually had to use I think I bought 4 bags of 80-pound concrete initially, and it wasn't enough. I ended up using, I think, 3 or 4 other bags of 60-pound concrete that I had around. I had the concrete fairly thick. It's not super wet or soupy, because as soon as you start working that, the creme and the moisture comes to the surface and it smooths out nice. Got it all smoothed out, marked it with the family there, and scribed in the date it was made, taped it up, and covered it and painted it. And now with this set of inexpensive cam lock straps, I made it so I can pull these to tighten the net. I'm going to use those straps to tighten the net. Initially I riveted them on, and that was a bad idea, as I show here, because the rivets protruded into the tube and prevented it from sliding over the other tube. So I took that, drilled that out, and then tacked those cam locks in place. Got the other end of the strap with the hook on it, cut it to the length I wanted, and then burned the ends. And those hooks will grab the net, and then I'll be able to use those to tighten the net. This is putting in the set screw, and then taking the standard out to the yard. And this time it slid over without hitting the rivets. And then my kid here is showing about putting the net on to the setup. So she's hooking those on, and then you just pull them tight. This is the anchor I was talking about, so I tied that onto the top. I get it to approximate height I want, set the screw. The other side I used a little more precision, cut a board to the height that I wanted the net, tightened it up. And then staked it in place so I could really tighten that net up. And turned out really good. Adjustable height volleyball standards. Ended up relocating it to the backyard with more room. And then time to paint on some regulation stripes here. And this was what made it all worthwhile. Kids were out playing and having fun with it. I hope you can make something similar and get some good ideas from my build, and appreciate you watching. I hope you like and subscribe.